One human ship appeared. The galaxy went to war. Among all these powers, humans were barely a footnote. Colonies on the edge of explored space were considered primitive, incapable of meaningful war, and of no concern to the great empires. That perception changed in a single moment. It started with a blip on the scanners of the Tiral Empire, one of the galaxy's most feared powers. Admiral Krelthas stared at the readouts in disbelief. "It can't be," he muttered. "That signature, it's human." The human colonies had been noted for centuries, but their ships were small, slow, and limited to interplanetary travel. No human vessel could traverse space with such speed, let alone approach the Tiral border unnoticed. Yet the readings were clear. A single human ship had appeared near the contested zone between Tiral and the neighboring Vale Collective. Krelthas called a fleet conference. Holographic displays shimmered in the room, showing the tiny dot of a ship moving with impossible speed, weaving through sensor grids like a phantom. "Prepare a response fleet," he commanded, his voice tight with unease. "But be cautious. This human craft, it does not follow the rules we know." The Tiral fleet, hundreds of warships strong, moved cautiously into the sector. They expected a minor skirmish, a human attempt at trade, or perhaps a scouting mission. What they did not expect was the ship itself. It appeared out of nowhere. The human's vessel was unlike anything in galactic records. Its surface was sleek, almost organic, reflecting light in shifting patterns. No known weapons protruded from its hull. No fleet formations accompanied it. It moved with precision and purpose, not recklessness, not fear. The first encounter came when a Tiral cruiser attempted to approach and issue a warning. Communication channels opened, a voice resonating in perfect galactic standard. "This is the human ship Resolute," the voice said, calm, measured, confident. "We request no conflict. Depart and you will not be harmed." Krelthas narrowed his eyes. "Do they think they can command us?" he growled. "Open fire," the cruiser fired. Missiles streaked through space, but they never reached the human ship. Within seconds, the Resolute had maneuvered in ways impossible to calculate, dodging attacks with flawless timing, then countering with small, precise pulses that disabled the cruiser's engines without causing mass destruction. The Tiral fleet panicked. Their communications officer stammered, "Admiral, they destroyed our engines without killing anyone." The human ship emitted a pulse of light, and the crippled cruiser drifted, its systems offline. Crew members scrambled to regain control, but the humans made no further attack. The message was clear. They had power, control, and discipline far beyond what anyone expected. Across the galaxy, the news spread faster than light. From the Vale Collective's war councils to the minor trading factions of the Outer Rim, everyone wondered, what was this human ship? The Vale Collective, observing from their border worlds, launched their own fleet. Thousands of ships surged toward the human craft. The humans did not flee. Instead, the Resolute seemed to anticipate every move, slipping between fleets, striking only where necessary and vanishing before the aliens could respond. By the time the Tiral and Vale fleets realized what was happening, half their ships were immobilized, and casualties were minimal, but the humiliation was total. Alien admirals whispered to each other in disbelief. "They are humans. They are weak, primitive." She was surrounded by crew members who worked seamlessly, adjusting shields, scanning enemy movements, and calculating maneuvers that seemed impossible. "Status?" she asked. Lieutenant Huron replied, "All enemy vessels disabled or retreating, ma'am. They are confused." "They haven't fired in full force again." Alina nodded. "Good, let them think they understand us." "They don't." The human crew worked in harmony, each member executing their roles with precision. What they lacked in numbers, they made up for in coordination, intelligence, and adaptability. They had trained for years, not just in war but in thinking ahead, in reading opponents, in using psychology as a weapon. Meanwhile, the alien leaders called emergency councils. The Tiral Emperor himself convened his generals. "This is unprecedented," he said, his tentacles trembling with anger. "A single human vessel, has crippled our best fleets. How is this possible?" A Vale ambassador interjected during a joint council. "Perhaps humans are not what they seem. Maybe they are part of an ancient civilization lost to time. Their technology, it surpasses anything we know." Another Tiral admiral snapped, "No, they are merely one ship. They cannot possibly be more than a fluke." But it was not a fluke. The humans had learned something the galaxy's powers had long forgotten. Brains and courage could defeat raw strength and numbers. The next few days became a series of skirmishes, each more daring than the last. The Resolute slipped into asteroid fields to avoid entire fleets, used solar storms to mask movements, and jammed communications to create confusion. Alien commanders were forced to admit the uncomfortable truth. Humans were not just surviving, they were winning. On a distant observation station, an analyst whispered into her recorder, "By all known metrics, humans should be incapable of sustained conflict with these empires. Yet, they are proving the impossible. One ship and one human crew has rewritten the rules of war." Back on the human ship, Alina watched the galaxy through the main viewport. Stars streaked past as the Resolute moved with intent. She knew the galaxy had no idea what was coming. She also knew humans had the ability to survive against impossible odds, and now, perhaps, to shape the galaxy itself. The Tiral and Vale fleets regrouped, furious and humiliated. They sent emissaries, demanded explanations, and tried to bribe smaller human colonies to reveal secrets. Every effort failed. The humans were disciplined, loyal, and united. Then came the message from the Tiral Emperor himself. "We demand you leave our territory immediately. Failure to comply will result in total annihilation." Alina smiled faintly. "Send them a reply," she said. Lieutenant Huron typed the message. In calm galactic standard it read, "We do not seek war, but we will defend ourselves. Retreat, or we will show you what humans are capable of." The message spread through alien networks, and panic rippled through the empires. To think a single human ship dared threaten the Tiral Empire itself was unthinkable. Analysts across multiple species debated, argued, and sometimes even laughed nervously. "They are only humans," one Vale officer said. "How can they?" By the end of the week, fleets were moving to prepare for all-out war. But the humans had already anticipated this. The Resolute moved quietly, disabling supply lines, rescuing smaller colonies under alien occupation, and proving that humans could fight without needless destruction. Alien populations began whispering about the humans. Words like heroes and legends circulated. In the middle of this growing chaos, Captain Alina gathered her crew. "Remember this," she said. "We are not here to conquer. We are here to survive and protect. But the galaxy must see humans for what we are: smart, brave, and never predictable. One ship may be all we have, but it is enough." The crew nodded, their faces determined. They knew the galaxy would never be the same again. One human ship had appeared, yes, but the war it sparked was only beginning. And far across the stars, alien leaders plotted, furious and afraid. One thought rang in every mind: never underestimate a human. Not one. Not ever. The galaxy was no longer calm. What had started as disbelief had grown into panic. Alien empires, the Tiral, the Vale, and even distant powers who had never noticed humans, were now aware of a single human ship, the Resolute, capable of feats that defied every expectation. What they had once dismissed as a primitive race was now the focus of every war council and strategy session in the galaxy. Admiral Krelthas of the Tiral Empire stared at the latest holographic maps. Red dots indicated the position of his fleet. Green dots, far fewer, showed the Resolute. And yet, despite being outnumbered hundreds to one, the human ship moved with unpredictable precision, striking, disappearing, and reappearing where it was least expected. "They are ghosts," muttered his aide. "They strike, then vanish. No patterns, no mistakes. How is this possible?" Krelthas's claws clenched. "They are humans. We cannot understand them, but we must destroy them." Plans were made. Massive fleets, thousands of ships, converged on the human vessel. They coordinated, combining technology, intelligence, and overwhelming firepower. Entire sectors were mobilized. The alien leaders believed that sheer numbers would crush the humans. They were wrong. The first strike came in the asteroid belt of Korath Prime. The alien fleets believed humans would flee. Instead, the Resolute moved calmly into the center of the belt, its hull glinting among jagged rocks. Captain Alina Mar watched the sensors. "Prepare the decoys," she said. Her crew deployed holographic illusions of the Resolute, each appearing to move independently. When the alien fleets approached, they fired at what they thought were human ships. Missiles streaked through space, only to strike rocks, asteroids, and empty void. Alina activated the real Resolute's countermeasures. Magnetic pulses disabled alien engines and the ship slowed, drifting helplessly. Within minutes, dozens of warships were immobilized, their crews panicking. The humans did not fire to destroy, they only neutralized threats and moved on. "Status?" Alina asked. Lieutenant Huron smiled. "All targeted ships disabled or retreating. No casualties. They don't understand what just happened." And they didn't. Across the galaxy, the alien command centers erupted with frustration. This was not a human fluke. This was strategy, intelligence, discipline. A single human ship had turned massive fleets into chaos, but humans did more than fight. They inspired others. On the small colony of Zephyr, humans had lived under Veil oppression for decades. When the Resolute arrived, the humans disabled Veil patrols, repaired essential systems, and helped the colony regain independence. Word spread fast. Other oppressed colonies reached out secretly, offering supplies, information, and even minor ships. The humans were becoming symbols of hope and resistance, a living legend in the making. Not all aliens were happy about this. Some argued among themselves. "They should be destroyed before they inspire more rebellion," one Tiral general hissed. "Patience," said another. "Observe them, understand them. If we can predict them, we can destroy them. But I fear we cannot." Indeed, prediction was the humans' greatest weapon. Every move they made seemed simple, yet it had layers. They used solar flares, asteroid fields, and even decoys to make enemy calculations fail. Alien commanders realized too late that humans were thinking in ways they could not imagine. Even more troubling for the empires was the human approach to life. They valued precision, discipline, and minimal collateral damage. Planets and colonies under attack were often spared, sometimes even helped. This confused alien officers, who were used to war being about dominance and fear, not intelligence and ethics. The war escalated further when the Tiral Empire sent its heaviest fleet, the Iron Tide, a group of warships that dwarfed anything humans had ever faced. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers, thousands of ships, and countless weapons were unleashed. It should have been overwhelming. It should have ended the human threat. Instead, the Resolute turned the attack into a lesson. Alina gave orders calmly. "Lure them into the nebula," she said. "Then engage the electromagnetic field." The humans' plan was flawless. As the massive fleet entered the nebula, sensors were jammed. Communication was disrupted. The Tiral ships collided with debris and each other. The humans struck only critical systems, disabling engines and weapons. By the time the fleet recovered, hundreds of ships were damaged beyond repair. The Resolute had struck with precision while avoiding destruction. On board the flagship of the Tiral Emperor, Krelthas could barely speak. "Impossible. They are humans and they are winning with one ship," Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the Veil Collective debated the implications. "They are not just a threat," one general said. "They are a symbol. If we attack humans and fail, more colonies will rise. Entire systems may revolt." The humans were indeed becoming icons of resistance. They had not only defended themselves but had sparked hope across oppressed populations. Even smaller alien factions that had previously been neutral were now secretly aiding humans. Supplies, intelligence, and minor fleets began moving to human-friendly positions. Back on the Resolute, Alina reviewed reports. The humans were outnumbered, but every action was calculated. Every enemy weakness had a counter. Every fleet movement, every patrol, every blind spot had been studied and exploited. The humans were not just fighting. They were teaching the galaxy a new way to fight, with brains, courage, and discipline. The escalation reached a critical point when the Tiral and Veil empires formed a temporary coalition. They would combine forces, share intelligence, and crush the human threat once and for all. Fleet after fleet moved into human territory. Battle after battle raged, but the humans were always ahead. They anticipated enemy movements, sabotaged supply lines, and liberated oppressed colonies. The Resolute became more than a ship. It became a symbol of unstoppable strategy. The aliens, in desperation, began to experiment with unknown weapons, ancient technologies, and even forbidden science. But humans adapted. They analyzed, tested, and countered every threat. Their ingenuity was limitless, their courage unwavering. On board the Resolute, Alina addressed her crew. "We are outnumbered. That is obvious, but we are never outmatched. Remember, strength is not always in numbers. Courage, intelligence, and unity are stronger than fear. We will continue to defend, to inspire, and to survive. And if we must fight, we fight smart." Her crew nodded. They had learned the same lesson. Humans thrive under pressure. Every challenge was an opportunity to outthink, outmaneuver, and survive. The human victories began to shift the balance of power. Minor alien factions declared independence. Colonies under alien control started rebellion. News networks and clandestine transmissions across systems broadcast tales of the humans who never lost a life unnecessarily, who never abandoned the weak, and who defeated impossibly large fleets with one ship. The galaxy began to whisper a new name: Resolute. But the humans knew the war was far from over. The Tiral and Veil empires were resourceful, ruthless, and determined. One miscalculation could mean annihilation. They also understood that the galaxy itself was watching, and every action they took could inspire allies or provoke enemies. Then came the day of the largest battle yet. Tens of thousands of alien ships from multiple empires formed a blockade to trap the Resolute. The humans had no choice but to fight head-on. Alina's voice was calm as ever. "This is it. Execute the plan." The humans moved with surgical precision. Decoys, traps, and ambushes turned the massive fleet into confusion. Alien ships collided, weapons misfired, and communication lines were severed. The humans struck only critical points, disabling weapons and engines, while avoiding unnecessary destruction. By the end of the battle, the coalition had suffered massive losses, not in lives, but in power, technology, and morale. The humans had once again proven that strategy, intelligence, and courage could outmatch overwhelming force. Admiral Krelthas, watching the aftermath, muttered bitterly, "We have underestimated them for centuries. One human ship has changed the balance of power. The galaxy will never be the same." The humans, however, did not celebrate. They had survived, yes, and they had inspired countless others, but the war was far from over. The galaxy was beginning to unite against them. Alina looked out at the stars. "One ship can do much," she said quietly, "but we are humans. We will do more." Across the galaxy, alien leaders began to fear humans in a way they had never feared any species before. One ship, one crew, had shown what humans were capable of. And that fear was only the beginning. The galaxy trembled. After weeks of skirmishes, ambushes, and daring strikes, every empire in the region had come to a single conclusion. The humans were not to be underestimated. The Tiral Empire, the Vale Collective, and several smaller powers had pooled their fleets into a massive armada. Every ship, weapon, and soldier was mobilized. They intended to crush the human threat once and for all, yet the humans were ready. On board the Resolute, Captain Alina Marr stood on the bridge, her eyes scanning the holographic maps. Red dots representing alien fleets stretched across the system, more ships than she had ever seen in a single formation. Her crew, calm and disciplined, awaited orders. "Status?" she asked. Lieutenant Huron replied, "They have us surrounded on all sides. Fleet numbers are overwhelming, but supply lines are stretched. They will attack in waves." Alina nodded. "Then we prepare for the waves. Remember, we fight smart. We do not fight blindly. This is not just a battle, it is a lesson. One humans give the galaxy." The humans had learned a truth the aliens had forgotten. Even in the face of overwhelming odds, intelligence, strategy, and courage could turn the tide. The first wave, the alien armada, moved with terrifying precision, launching their first assault. Hundreds of capital ships advanced, lasers cutting through space like rivers of fire. Smaller ships swarmed the Resolute, attempting to overwhelm it, but the humans were ready. Decoys scattered across the battlefield, creating illusions of multiple human ships. The Resolute moved unpredictably, slipping between enemy formations. Magnetic pulses disabled weapons, electromagnetic shields absorbed laser fire, and calculated maneuvers turned entire fleets into chaos. One Tiral cruiser, confident in its superior technology, tried to flank the human ship. Within moments, it found its engines frozen, weapons disabled, and crew panicking. The humans had not destroyed it, they had taught it a lesson, showing that victory was not about brute force but understanding the battlefield. Alina watched carefully. "Keep them disoriented, lead them where we want. Let them chase shadows." By the time the first wave ended, dozens of alien ships were damaged, their formations broken, and morale shaken. The humans had survived the impossible, outthinking fleets hundreds of times their size. The second wave. Alien leaders, furious and desperate, launched the second wave. This time, they coordinated better, hoping to trap the humans in a crossfire. Thousands of ships moved in unison, targeting every possible escape route. The humans had anticipated this. Using the gravitational pull of nearby planets, the Resolute created slingshot maneuvers, accelerating unpredictably. Hidden asteroid fields were used as cover, and the human crew deployed EMP pulses that disabled enemy communication networks. Entire fleets were left blind, drifting in space, unable to coordinate. Even the smallest human tactics carried impact. Drones repaired damaged ships instantly. Shields were reinforced in real time. Enemy attacks were countered with precision. Every human crew member worked as one, anticipating each other's moves without words. "Focus on their command vessels," Alina ordered. "We neutralize the brain, the body follows." Alien admirals were shocked. Their fleets, vast and powerful, faltered. One by one, flagship vessels were disabled or forced to retreat. Humans were not destroying them, they were controlling the battlefield. A veiled general, watching from orbit, muttered, "One human ship is defeating us all. This is impossible." The human advantage. While the aliens relied on numbers, humans relied on coordination, adaptability, and ingenuity. They exploited weak points, used environmental hazards as weapons, and anticipated enemy moves before they were made. The Resolute was small, but it was deadly smart. Its crew knew every system, every maneuver, and every risk. The humans understood that war was not about destruction alone. It was about survival, efficiency, and teaching a lesson. Colonies that had previously been under alien control joined the fight. Small human-aligned fleets and rogue alien ships began supporting the humans, disrupting supply lines, and launching minor attacks to divert the massive armada. The galaxy began to realize that humans were not alone in spirit, even if only one ship remained in direct battle. The final confrontation finally, the humans and the alien coalition faced each other in the heart of the Korath system. Thousands of warships, dozens of capital vessels, and hundreds of thousands of soldiers waited to destroy the Resolute. Elena stood on the bridge. This is it. We fight with courage, with intelligence, with everything that makes humans humans. We are small, but we are not weak. Remember, every move counts. Every action matters. This is our galaxy now. The humans moved with precise coordination. Decoys, drones, and rapid maneuvers created confusion. Alien fleets, confident in their numbers, found themselves trapped, blocked, and outsmarted at every turn. The humans struck key supply lines, disabled engines, and created chaos among the enemy ranks. Alien ships collided. Communications failed. Leaders shouted orders that could not be executed. And in the midst of it all, the humans did what no alien had expected. They saved lives. Colonies caught in the crossfire were shielded. Enemy ships were disabled rather than destroyed, and civilians were rescued. By the time the battle reached its peak, the alien coalition had lost the initiative. Hundreds of ships were crippled, key command vessels were neutralized, and morale had collapsed. The humans had not just survived, they had taught a lesson in warfare, intelligence, and morality. The aftermath. Admiral Krelthas stared at the remnants of his fleet. His pride and power had been shattered not by brute force but by a single human ship. He whispered bitterly, "We underestimated them. We always underestimated them." Elsewhere, alien leaders were forced to surrender, negotiate, or flee. The galaxy had been forced to recognize the humans as a major power, one not to be challenged lightly. The humans, however, did not celebrate. They had survived, yes, but their mission was never conquest. They had fought to protect, to inspire, and to survive. Captain Elena Mar addressed her crew. "We have done what no one expected. One ship, one crew has changed the galaxy. But remember this, our work is not over. Humans have shown the galaxy courage, intelligence, and morality. That is our greatest power. Let the galaxy remember it." Her crew nodded. They had endured impossible odds, fought smarter than hundreds of thousands of soldiers, and remained true to human principles. Across the stars, whispers spread. The humans had become legends. Colonies once oppressed gained hope. Alien leaders began respecting and fearing the human race. One ship, one crew had reshaped the galaxy. The human legacy, the Resolute, became more than a ship. It became a symbol of courage against impossible odds, of brains over brute force, and of morality in a galaxy that had forgotten it. Humans were no longer considered primitive. They were respected. They were feared. They were a force to be reckoned with. The galaxy had learned a lesson it would not forget. Never underestimate humans. Brains, courage, and unity can defeat overwhelming power. One determined crew can inspire millions and reshape civilizations. Captain Elena Mar looked out at the stars once more. "We came in as one ship," she said quietly. "But the galaxy now knows humans are unstoppable." And somewhere across countless worlds, aliens told their young stories of the human crew who turned the galaxy upside down with courage, intelligence, and heart. The war was over, but the legend of humans had only just begun.